How's it going, everybody?
Talk about feeling pathetic.
I know, right?
Feeling pathetic.
I know, right?
That was my bad. Sorry. No, I had the computer on at the same time as the phone.
I was like, what was that?
Yeah, that was my bad. You can see more clearly this time.
Yeah. I wish it was a way to put it on a split screen, but I can't figure out how to do it.
Yeah, once I get this working, I'll be able to fix it. Hopefully. Oh, is that your dog?
Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. Yes, I have listened to the Atheists, the Thinking Atheists presenters. They don't listen to it regularly, but Next.
Are you an atheist or are you an agnostic?
I think agnostic is a bullshit word.
Yeah, I've heard that position.
Well, it really is like the word atheist means lack of belief in a God. Agnostic means you don't know. Nobody knows. That's a stupid position. It was literally a word made up by Darwin's bulldog because people were afraid of the word atheist. There's a bad echo. I can hear myself. I don't know why.
Is it the head? Oh.
I use headphones all the time when I play D&D and stuff.
Did you say D&D? Are you guys in the chat? You're hearing the echo? I don't hear it. So maybe the problem is me.
Well, I can hear me. How's that? Is there something else picking up my sound from your end?
No, not that I know of.
Because I disconnected with my phone and I can still hear it.
Let me try reconnecting.
Sorry guys, we're not good at tech. Maybe it's just me. No, I can't hear myself. No, I don't hear an echo.
Does that work?
All right, how's that? No, I can still hear it. But I couldn't hear it when you were disconnected.
I can't hear it, weirdly.
Weird. I'm wondering if your phone's like picking up the speaker itself.
Okay, talk right now.
Is that better? Hey, I didn't hear myself.
Yeah, I turned off my mic, so for some reason that works better. But it's not. Oh, yeah, I can put on headphones. I can make this. Hold on.
That might fix it. That's why I had to get my headset
Is that better?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I still have an echo.
No, wait, one sec. All right, is that better now?
All right, how about now? Okay, I didn't hear myself.
Perfect. Yeah, I got my headphones in now, so that fixed it.
How's the sound? Comments? Is there? Yeah, it's all fixed. Good, perfect. So, where do you want to start with the insanity of this week? Listening to the Trump unity speech was interesting.
Yeah, if you were to start there before the shooting, because the shooting we could get lost in forever, I feel.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I really don't care. I feel bad for the innocent people who were there and got shot. That sucks for them. But
I'm becoming more interested in the shooter because as more information is revealed, it's clear he was very conservative, like extremely.
I think they're going to try and pin it on the libertarians. Because, like, dude's dad was a libertarian. And if you think about it, like, I think it's funny that people always say that third parties hurt the Democrats when the largest third party in America is the libertarians. And there's no way they'd ever vote for a Democrat.
Yeah, and Ross Perot hurt the Republicans more than anyone when he had his meaningful third party candidacy.
If the libertarians went away, the Republicans would win probably twice as many elections.
You think Trump will recover burnt toast? You think this is?
I think his VP pick didn't help him any. He picked like the most boring, atypical Republican money grabber there is. So
he's got some weird features. So he's been very open about wanting the minimum wage to rise.
Oh yeah. But Trump's going to try to switch to a more populist agenda. It's just going to happen because he knows the team can't win with just his base. But we all know he's full of crap. I remember when he said he was going to give everybody free healthcare the first time he ran.
Yeah, I think.
But I don't know if it's. I see to JD Vance is money, because, like you said, the guy can fundraise like crazy.
Yeah, but he's got some. He's trying to be like a truer populist, like don't intervene internationally and living formula. So he's a strange conservative. He's trying to sell himself as like a real populist who doesn't want to intervene internationally. He actually does want to raise the corporate tax rate a bit, but he's been back and forth on that, and he wants to increase the minimum wage. And when he talks about immigration, he says it's causing people to lose their jobs, and he tries to tie those 2 points together a lot more.
Yeah, I don't understand the immigration argument because, like, the population demographics in America, we need like 2 to 3 billion immigrants every year for like the next 10 years. And I don't understand why the business community is coming out against this so hard when like they're the ones who need it.
I think they're worried about consumption. I have believed since 2017 that they were pushing wages too low and keeping prices too high, and that eventually we'd see a collapse of consumption and full-blown deflation like in the 1930s. And it's actually starting to register now. So like June was the first month with month over month of minus 0.1% inflation. And that's the first time that's happened in a minute. And you've seen prices being lowered by Walmart, Target. They all have been discussing how they want to do that. And it's because they've finally traumatized the American consumer too much. Credit card defaults are through the roof. And
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
are
that's how
car
this system ends.
repos, and yeah, I mean, Marx said that capitalism will always eat itself. He was wrong.
I think we're there. Like, I really do. The
Well,
major
what's funny
banks.
is we were actually there in the '70s, and then they came out with credit cards and pushed them on the American people and used debt to finance the last 50 years. And
Now
now
those
the
defaults are
debt is
skyrocketing.
too big, yeah,
Yeah.
and like they literally they literally used credit and credit cards in this whole, because people don't realize that it was abnormal to take out a loan to buy a car before the '70s. Like, this is just not how you bought a car.
Yeah.
No, nobody had credit cards before the '70s except for like really rich businessmen.
So the most interesting thing to me is normally and in the past, if you defaulted on your credit card and other stuff, it was still worthwhile for banks to use the legal system to come after you to garnish your wages and stuff like that.
Mm.
Instead of doing that now, they're just writing it off as though there's no way to, like, they're admitting the consumer is sort of tapped out. And one thing I think is interesting is we will change psychologically. So as people stop purchasing finished, especially like finished food goods, and begin to cook more often, I've even done that. I'm not half the chef you are, obviously, but I have taken to cooking, and like even if prices went down, I wouldn't go back, and that's the problem. Like when you traumatize the consumer and they begin engaging in the complex stuff that it takes to save money, they get used to that. And even if you do lower prices, they are not coming back.
It's like, look at what happened to the people raised during the Great Depression. They were like the most frugal people their entire lives. No matter how good the economy got, no matter what, they saved every penny. I mean, that's where the whole adage of people hiding money in their mattress came from, because that was literally a thing.
Yeah.
Like my great grandparents, and even my grandparents to an extent, because my grandma's 89. So I mean, and she's one of the most frugal people like you'll ever meet. Like, just never spent a dime on anything.
Yeah. My
It's
parents were, had their kids super late. So you and I are born the same year, right? But my parents, when they had me, they were like 35 and 36, which is really abnormal for our parents' generation, right?
my mom was
And
30.
okay. But my grandparents, like they remembered parts of the depression, and they did all kinds of things to, like, they just wouldn't buy finished products. Like my grandmother would fix clothes, and she would cook everything. She didn't understand, like, she was super opposed to ordering food out. She thought it was just like the most ridiculous waste. She thought chips were a waste. She cooked her own bread, you know what I mean? Like she didn't
Hmm.
understand that kind of stuff. Those products are the first to go in a depression, because like it takes a bit to learn how to make your own bread, right? But once you do, because I did this, you realize, like, oh my god, the bread I make at home is like so much better. It's really cheap. I just got to
Right.
keep this starter thing going.
Yeah, or like, shit, I have a bread machine. So I literally just dump the ingredients in and hit a button and come back in 4 hours and have bread.
Do you have to keep the living thing
That's
alive, the
only if you want
starter?
to. That's only if you want to make sourdough.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Then that's
if
what
you want to
I'm
make
doing.
anything else, you just get like dry yeast.
Yeah, and like living formula stuff. Like tons of people, I see it on TikTok all the time. There's a ton of people who are like, I have gone off the grid. I now, make most of my own stuff, and you're seeing people help other people learn how to live more cheaply. And
Well, one of the things my grandpa said to me before he passed away that I'll never forget. He asked me when I was like, when I was 18 or 19, I was still a hardcore libertarian, like survivalist prepper type person. Although, to be honest, I'm still kind of a prepper. But he said to me, he said, He asked me if I knew how to make flour, and I had no idea. And he said, for the last 10,000 years, every human being has known how to make flour, from the richest king to the poorest pauper. He said, until your generation. When the power goes out, you're all going to die.
I mean, it's
So
true.
be
We're
out alive.
so
Sorry. You're good.
we are pretty helpless. Like,
It's well, and then if you look, it's not just grind up the grain. That's what you think, but it's not. You have to know which part of the wheat you can actually do that to. You have to separate the wheat from the chaff. Like it's a whole complicated thing to make flour. Like, and if you don't know how to do it, you're just gonna starve. It's crazy.
well, like to Living Formula's comment, I think we will harm the corporations by accident. Like I wish we could get a bunch of people together on TikTok and get them to embrace making their own products and stuff like that, but the rising price of goods is forcing them to
Oh
learn how
yeah.
to do this stuff. And so it's not going to be a concerted effort where, oh, we got a big group together. People are doing it individually, and I
Well,
mean,
it's like I
that's how I think
tell
it's.
everybody, if you can't grow anything, grow potatoes. Like I don't care what kind of green thumb you have. If you get some decent dirt, potatoes will grow. Right? They're easy as hell to grow, and when you harvest them, you just leave a couple in the ground, and the next year you'll have more potatoes. There's a reason that they say potatoes saved over 1 billion lives since we've discovered them. They're
Yeah,
amazing.
they're simple to grow. I haven't tried that yet.
I have like I live in an apartment, and I have two 5 gallon dirt pots outside that I just grow potatoes and stuff in.
I love that you're doing prepper stuff in an apartment. That's great.
I I don't. I'm a firm believer you should be ready for because my grandpa was right. It wouldn't take much for the power grid to go out, and people don't understand what that would actually mean on like a large scale. Like, did you know that according to all of our cybersecurity experts, everything is already hacked?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, I've
everything,
heard that.
all of our power plants, everything is already hacked, and so is everybody else's. Like the Chinese is already hacked, the Russians is already hacked. Everybody's just hacked, and everybody's just like waiting for somebody to push the button, and everything's going to shut off. That's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, we're so vulnerable because everything we don't design things to be innovative, we design them to be profitable. So like even the technology we make is crap. Like when the light bulb first came out, I think the first couple models could last like 20 or 30 or 50 years. And then they
Look,
realized like, oh, that's not going to work.
there's a light bulb in New Jersey that has been on for over 100 years in a
Exactly.
firehouse somewhere. It's yeah, it's planned obsolescence, everything's. But like, so the real question is how long until Biden finally drops out or makes such a fool of himself that they don't have a chance? Because I mean, the Dems are toast if they don't do something at this point just to change the media attention.
I think it's like a song, right? So like we've just had a big crescendo with the Trump assassination. And so if they were to do something that large, it would go, it would be overshadowed to an extent. So I'm hoping, obviously, I don't know. I'm hoping they're just waiting until there's more attention and people are capable of giving more attention to get rid of him. But again, like what we were talking about, like, will it be because he goes willingly or will it be because they get, 15 of his cabinet secretaries to be like, look, bro, you're leaving or we're making you leave. It's up to you. Um,
Yeah. I think he could get like I think Kamala could get the cabinet on her side as long as she like, tells them that they'll keep their job.
I mean, yeah, well, and I think they realize like they're not going to keep their job if they continue this way. I mean, I
Right?
don't think
Because
this is
there's
going
no
to
way.
do, yeah,
There's just
I don't
no
think it's
way
going
Biden wins at this point.
I don't think this is even going to do that much for Trump because, as someone said earlier, like people are really terrified of the women's rights issues that are going to come up if he gets reelected. And so
And abortion is won in every election that's been on the ballot on, even in like really red states.
Yeah, but birth control's on the. I mean, dude, the no fault divorce is on the ticket this time, and I think
Yeah.
most people don't realize how scary that one is because it's a strange old legal thing because no one ever thought that was going to come back, so they don't teach what it would mean for no fault divorce to go away.
Somebody just said in the comments, what kind of democracy would I pick? I have a completely insane idea for democracy that is nobody would probably vote for except me, but I think we should pick our congressmen and stuff like we do jury duty. I think it should be random. Like we should randomly draw two names from every congressional district, and you vote on those two people. And then for the president, we'll draw like one name from each state.
I mean, we
I'm just
we
serious.
can't.
And we did no rerunning for election. You get your term and then you're out.
No, that's I like that idea for policing. I want every person in a community to have to be a policeman one day a month. So, like, if anyone abuses their power, they know, like, well, this was your day, but my day's coming soon. The
Right?
threat of repercussions,
That's
you know?
that's good. I also think that people should have to live in the area they police,
Yes.
which is something that I think they've gotten away from, and now they make these little like cop villages in towns where all the cops live in the same neighborhood and none of them interact with the regular populace. It's a terrible idea.
Well, I think that they've messed up. So, like, if they really if the elites really wanted to sustain power through the economic problems that are about to hit through the lack of consumption, they would have created like real separate cop towns and they would pay them a lot. They would make sure that police feel very, powerful and valued, but they don't do that. I mean, that's one of the most interesting things about the collapse. Like, how well could they rely on the cops? They don't treat them that
They,
well.
but they don't have to. Like it's the same thing that the mustache guy did. You don't actually have to pay them very well. You just have to convince them that the civilians are the enemy, and they've already done that. Like cops pull everyone over expecting them to attack them. Like, they're trained that way, and it's insane.
We have a new sheriff in Las Vegas, and they get one term as the chief sheriff. And I got to meet with him because my uncle does the stuff that he does, and he's like trying to roll everything back. He's trying to like discourage his officers from enforcing drug stuff. He's like, I only got one term, and I want things to get better. There are some cops who are solid who like they hate their job, but they just do it. You know,
Yeah, most of them get removed.
Yeah, they rarely get as high as this guy has gotten in the chain of command. This guy is strange, but I dig him. But I mean, with the Biden thing, it's just like I can't tell why he doesn't realize that there are no events that he can use to look better, right? Like even when he was giving the scripted speech to NATO, okay? And it was scripted, he's looking at the teleprompter, he's crushing his words. Like even when he doesn't forget them, he starts to do this weird stutter thing and he just looks incapable and he must realize like the next debate is coming.
Mm. Yeah, I don't. Uh, I'm hoping they wait till after the RNC is over, and then next weekend Biden drops out. Because then you drum up a bunch of excitement for the DNC's convention, and the media will all be talking about who is going to be the Democrats' next thing, unless he just straight gives it to Kamala. But I don't. Biden's ego won't let him actually resign as president. He'll make up some reason he doesn't think he can do the next 4 years and drop out of the race but not resign.
That's the most disturbing thing that's become apparent is that he is not going to willingly go. Like
No,
that's
it's
not
his
happening.
ego is insane to me because like it's gonna like any chance you had at a decent legacy is going right out the window if you just lose to Trump because of your ego, and everyone is going to know that's the reason. And I
Well,
think that's why you notice that Bernie and Elon Omar and AOC, all the like what would be considered the farthest left in the government, they're the most stringent about supporting Biden. Do you know why?
No.
Because they know damn well, since they're progressives, that if they came out and said one bad word when Biden loses, all of the centrists would blame them.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective.
So they have to be the people who are the most ardent on his side, so that when he loses, which he will, they can't go, well, this is all the progressives' fault because they came out and told Biden to drop out and split the party and da. I mean, think about how much the Hillary supporters still say it's Bernie's fault that she lost, even though he did everything he could to rally for her and all kinds of crap.
Oh, totally. And Bruins asked, what do we think of anyone else's chance on beating Trump? Like, who do you think has good mojo
Anyone
for that?
else could beat Trump. I think the best person is Kamala Harris for a multitude of reasons. One, the money. You can't give Biden's money to anybody else. Two, it's gonna make the racists and the misogynists come out even harder, which is gonna drive up the women's vote, especially now that they picked another white dude for his VP. Like, she is the best candidate, and she's a prosecutor going against a criminal. I mean, history writes itself there.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, Bruins, but I think Gavin Newsom would absolutely crush him. But Gavin has already said he's not running against Kamala.
Gavin's trying to go for Kamala's VP, which I think is a bad move. But like I said, I think it's a bad move for her to pick him because they're both from California. Like, she'd be way better off taking Whitmer, or I think she should take Bashir, the governor of Kentucky, because I mean, Homeboy's won Kentucky twice.
If they gave Newsom that microphone, they'll do a VP debate. He is dynamite in person.
He will eat Vance alive. That's not even a question. Vance has the charisma of a turnip. That's why one of the reasons Trump picked him. Trump doesn't want anybody who can outshine him in any way. He has to be like the big name. But I still think it should be Harris Bashir. Harris Bashir is a winning ticket.
Who's Bashir? I don't even know that person.
He's the governor of Kentucky. He's a Democrat who's won Kentucky twice. The fact that people don't know his name, like you, that's actually helps him. Don't remember, somebody said Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg is all right, but too many centrists see him as a whiny little, and after the train derailment and all the problems with Boeing, when he's the transportation secretary, you're just giving him something to just rip him apart over.
He really hasn't just established himself. That was an opportunity for him to matter, that transportation secretary thing. And like you said, the train derailment thing was just horrifying. The Democrats should have been all over that, but they did almost nothing. The punishment was very weak. But yeah, I know that Newsom is going to be running for president at some point, and so I think that I think they might give him the VP just to prevent him from trying to run against Kamala. If he feels like he's getting shut out, he's gonna do something.
I don't think he would run against Kamala because he's smart enough to know the optics of that are terrible. Because literally that's basically him saying, I don't think this black woman is capable of doing this. And he's never going to come out and say that. That will ruin his career as a Democrat.
Well, I told you in the text we had that it's actually kind of weird for the vice president to run, or it's not common for the vice president to come after the president. They run a lot. They just don't win very often. Yeah.
But it's different. This thing is, I don't think you can use any historical precedent for this election. None of it adds up. People keep going there's never been a president who's lost with an economy with these numbers. I'm there's never been a president who couldn't make a incoherent sentence. So I mean, trying to say that that you can be judge off what the last 30 years of history have done when we have a felon running against a geriatric senile old man is just insane. You can't say anything historical matters. Like the guy with his 13 keys. Well, which one of your keys says the president can't say a paragraph without fucking it up?
No, exactly.
Like, because if you
I
don't
mean,
have that key in your little lock, I'm sorry, like your keys don't mean crap this year.
no, it's so true. And to Living Formula's question about corporations, yeah, we both believe they're all in the hands of corporations, but we're talking strategically because obviously we don't get to vote for the people we want. I think you wanted Whitmer. If you could have
Well,
had
if I
your,
had my ideal situation,
yeah,
I'd vote for AOC and an Andrew Yang ticket, but you know.
yeah, I still want Bernie. I mean, I love that man.
I love Bernie, but he wouldn't win now.
No,
The
no,
narrative of them nominating a man who's even older than Biden is, and number one, Bernie's brain is 100% still there. I would love to just sit down and talk to that dude for like an hour. But his
yeah,
age, I mean, you can't be like Biden's too old, so let's go with the guy who's 5 years older than him.
exactly. It's too late. I know. It's such a bummer to me. Um,
Like AOC should run, but she's too young. She would be
they're
like
trying to,
35 right before the election.
yeah. I think they tried to primary her a little
They
bit.
did.
Yeah.
APAC's putting $100 million into congressional things against anybody who's not 100% for Israel. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's APAC is wild. Um, and the amount of control they're
Bernie's the
able to
second
exert.
most consistent politician in my lifetime. Like I'm no longer a fan, but Ron Paul was the most consistent politician ever.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I love about the libertarians is if they follow their party platform, one of the key elements of their party platform is that they want to disband all of the corporations. They're fine with private ownership, but no more corporations. That would change everything overnight. Like,
Yep. Yeah, it would. No, I was a hardcore libertarian for a very long time. I went to Ron Paul rallies. That's the only time I ever voted for a Republican was in the 2012 primary. I voted for Ron Paul. I had to register as a Republican just to vote for him because of the state I lived in.
yeah, his son let everyone down, right?
Yeah,
His
yeah.
son's not one of the,
Not
yeah.
the same. Talk about not the same guy. Because Ron Paul, one of the things that's funny, they're like, "Why do you always vote no on everything? He's on every bill." He said, "Because I read them."
There
Best
was
fucking answer ever.
there was
Oh,
the governor of New Mexico back when I think when Gary Johnson, there was this amazing moment when I think he was in some sort of all Republican debate with Trump. I think it was in 2016. And they were bringing up a shooting that had occurred. And they were like, what do you think about this? What are you going to do about this kind of stuff? And he was like, I sincerely believe the criminalization of drugs has led to all of this. And I was like, oh my God, that was
oh.
amazing.
You know what's funny is I was still a libertarian when Gary Johnson won, and you know who the guy I voted for in the libertarian primary was a guy whose name was Austin Peterson, and his campaign slogan was "I believe that gay married couples should be able to defend their marijuana plants with fully automatic machine guns."
That's so good.
I was like, "That's the guy I'm voting for in 2012." Oh, but
No,
I've switched so much since then.
I was a self-identified libertarian for that reason too. I mean, because I don't know if you've seen Hillary Clinton's speech against gay marriage and all that stuff. So because you and I are the exact same age. So like right when we were coming of age politically, there was no party that was pro-gay rights or
Except the libertarians.
except the libertarians. Yeah, like
Yeah. And I was a libertarian until I went to a libertarian gathering. And then I was like, wow, these are just a bunch of racist assholes. I had no idea. Like, that is not the rhetoric you get when you read the party platform at all.
I love that you're just this seriously politically involved chef wandering around the political landscape of America, experiencing the different flavors that we have to offer.
Yeah, I've always been interested in politics since I was the first time I got interested in politics was Clinton's first election.
Yeah,
I
they
think I
thought
was
he didn't.
12.
So that was. I remember my dad explaining to me uh, that Clinton wasn't going to win because he had no name, and then they were upset because they believe Ross Perot was the reason Clinton won.
Yeah.
And then, like, talk about a different Republican Party. You remember George Bush's "Read My Lips, No New Taxes," and then he did raise taxes, like even on the wealthy. Like he was a different stripe too.
Yeah, he was weird. Well, I remember when Bush Senior tried to
That's
come
what I'm
up
talking
with
about.
his when he tried to come up with his new world order and basically tried to move the global hegemony again into a direction so that because the Cold War was just ending and he saw without the Cold War the Russians as being a threat, he didn't see a way to keep NATO and everything cohesive. And that's what his whole new world order was. And then all the conspiracy theorists ran with how crazy that sounded. And but it was a trade deal.
Oh, totally. I don't remember the fall of the Berlin Wall. How old were we? 6? Yeah, we were like
Something.
6.
It was what 92.
Oh, I thought it was 89.
It would have been 9.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 89, and then 92 was the fall of the Union. I think that might have been right. Yeah, I don't really remember it either. I think the first major political event I remember was Challenger exploding.
Oh, that was even before then. You think that was a political one? I remember.
It might have been. I just remember that because they put that on. We were watching it go up in school, and then it exploded.
Ross Perot was the first thing I remember. Like, I really think it was Ross Perot. Um, I don't know why. My parents used to listen to the conservative talk radio, right? So, and they would leave me in the car with like what was it, Michael Savage or Rush Limbaugh.
Oh God, Limbaugh back in the day.
You would listen. Formula would listen on ham radio to political stuff. That's crazy. But yeah, Biden's speech about unity, where he criticized the student protesters, that was so unhinged.
Yeah, I don't understand how that has anything to do with anything. I don't understand what Biden's plan is. I see no path for him to victory unless something else major happens.
I think that the left has gotten so large, like the real left, that Democrats are taking time to try to define themselves as not that. Like they used to be they didn't used to criticize the left as much as they do now, but I think that they're trying to isolate themselves because of what's going on with Gaza. Like,
But I don't know. It's do you know who Peter Zion is?
no, I'm looking.
He's a geopolitical strategist against. He's more centrist. I don't really agree with him policy wise, but he's very intelligent when he talks about population demographics and things like that. He just wrote a book, The End of Globalization, and he talks about how at the end of World War II, America basically bribed the world. It was the first time ever that America said we're going to use our Navy to patrol the global oceans. And because of that, we're going to secure trade for everybody. Because it used to be before World War II, if you wanted to ship something somewhere, you had to send a naval boat with it.
Yeah.
and that's why only like major countries could even do like international shipping. But then after World War II, we basically said, well, we're gonna, because we were the only country who still had a navy, because our shipyards didn't get blown up the entire time. So after that, we told the world that we're going to guarantee shipping, and all you guys have to do is agree that if the Soviets start marching, you'll get in the way.
Yeah, I mean, we also
And it
were
was
the
a
only.
bribe.
No, it's true. But we got so much out of it. Like we got them to like France and Germany spent so much money trying to back the gold peg before it collapsed. When when it was, the dollar's every $35 is an ounce of gold. Like, um,
Yeah.
and also we had the only factories. I mean, that's why it was so easy for our grandparents and our parents to make so much money. There were only factories here, and there were not enough workers. So like they could command amazing salaries. Like
Mm. Yeah,
this
it
younger
was. But the Peter Zinga makes the point that we don't have the Navy for that anymore. We don't have 800 destroyers now. We have 11 aircraft carriers. An aircraft carrier is great for toppling a country, but it's about worthless for patrolling the open ocean.
No, it's true. I mean, China's trying to take over spaces like the Strait of Malacca, which is super valuable in Indonesia, and obviously the Yemenis have been able to do some damage to us. Since the Israel war started, I forgot their names, the Houthis. Um, yeah, the Houthis. But yeah, I think it's become too difficult for the rest of the world to go along with us. A lot of the European countries are really struggling. Um,
Their populations are collapsing.
yeah,
Like Germany's population is done. Like uh, I saw a guy who said, if you want a BMW, buy it now and buy 10 years of parts because there won't be a new model in another 5 years.
yeah. I mean, we have the same problem with our domestic population, which you brought up earlier, which is why we need more immigrants to
More
some
kids.
extent. Yeah,
That's it.
but
We need more kids and nobody's having kids. So
let's do like this. Gen Z kid asked me, he's like, what decade would you wish to have been born in? He's like, I wish I had the 90s. And I was like, I wish I had been born in the 50s or the 60s. Like, if you were born during that time, you could move to a new town, okay? And with your blue collar level, with no experience, get a job and buy a house within 2 months. Like, you could just throw a dart anywhere in the
mhm.
country and move there and purchase a house because that's how well all the businesses were paying. And by the time you and I grew up, it was already really competitive and difficult. I feel bad for the people after us because we were sort of in the
Yeah.
last little bit of it.
I'm it's so funny, but I'm glad I was such a screw up in high school. Because like
Why?
I would be so mad if I put myself 80 grand in debt and ended up with a career that didn't make enough money to pay off my student loans.
Oh, I know. I mean,
I know so many people who were like in my generation who went to college, got this huge student loan, and then ended up with a job like mine, where it's like you don't need that degree. And, like the number of culinary graduates I fired is ridiculous. And these
really?
people spent like thousands and thousands of dollars to learn to not be as good at my job as I am.
Yeah, good. It's been such a scam and it's so over the top now, but at least, like, look, what, you graduated in 2002?
Yeah, I think so.
So, like, when I went to UC Santa Barbara, right, and it was in-state tuition, it was just 8,000. I mean, it was a lot more than before, but it was $8,000 a year, right? So that was totally doable. And I got out in 2006, so the financial crisis was still 2 years away, year and a half away. So like we got a little taste of a little bit, but I mean that hope that if you go to college, your life can be easier. The way that got extinguished after that was so crazy, and That's why I'm
Oh
surprised
yeah.
the Democrats don't do more to discuss like how terrible employment conditions are now. Like,
Their donors are the ones putting those conditions in place. Like, it's really going to be the donors that get Biden to drop out. Like, if they're really holding back that $90 million, $90 million is a lot of damn money. I mean, you're looking at almost 10% what they spent last election, just right there.
and you know the Trump assassination will make it worse for the donors. Like they're all looking at Biden like you're gonna have a guy on September 10th on the stage with you debating who got shot in the ear, and you're gonna be stumbling over your words looking like an idiot.
Yeah,
Like, oh, it's
yeah.
so
It's so bad. It's so bad. I, I can't figure out how the Democrats at all think that Biden has a chance. And
it's
he's going to
power
drag down the
structure.
rest of the ticket. And here's another thing that irritates me. It's like, what's why doesn't the Democrats spend any money in districts that are like more than 5+ red?
Well, right now they're just trying to hold on to the ones they've got. There's a tons of districts that are turning purple because they hate Biden so much. Like,
Yeah, that's very true. It's just crazy because I think about the guy who's running for Congress in my district. His name is Marlando Pridgeon. He has no social media presence. He has zero campaign events scheduled. I've emailed the campaign twice offering to like interview him on TikTok.
of
Nothing.
course you have.
I mean, I got 90,000 followers almost. Like, I figured I at least could ask him a couple of questions and maybe make a video and try to help him. You know what I mean? Because David Rouser's a piece of crap. Like,
I know. I just love how engaged you are. It's so.
it's crazy. And like my congressmen and senators don't even answer the phone when I call them. Like, I just get the message every time. I'm pretty sure they've got my number set to go to message because I've called them. I don't even know how many times in the last 5 years.
Oh my God. It's wild that we can't. So if I could change the government, I just wish it was easier to get on the ballot. I know it's hard to get attention because of the media, as you said, but I also love, the idea of like you vote for a party, not a person. And if you get some minimum amount, we go in there, like you get it. So like, if you get 10% of the vote for Congress, your party makes up 10% of Congress. Like
Right.
it would force more collaboration, and it would allow different views to come in. And I wonder if they're going to have to do that after everything goes down, because like, I mean, we're going to see a serious economic downturn within the next 6 months. That's going to, like, Christmas is going to catalyze it, because that's when the balance sheets go green most of the time. And
Yeah. I really think people are the Democrats are just hoping that the economy doesn't tank before November, which they
I
probably won't. Summer's when they make a lot of money anyway.
well, that's one of the reasons why I almost like it might be better if Trump's in office, because I really believe like over the next 4 years we're gonna see, in earnings statements and stuff like that, just a collapse in sales, just an absolute collapse. And then the market's gonna collapse, and I know they'll blame the president no matter who it is. And so I almost think it might be better if the Republicans were sitting on it in that way. The problem also though is the down ticket vote, which Biden is just gonna wreck. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. It's like that, and now Trump's saying he doesn't know anything about Project 2025, and it's like, man, half your cabinet's the people who wrote it. What are you even talking about?
well, I think that they realize that a lot of the platforms in 2025 are truly insane. Like no fault divorce, that is truly insane. Like you are not, if they pull that off, you are not going to be able to get divorced unless you prove your spouse has broken one of the sets of rules that are imposed.
The guy,
Like
the guy
cheated.
running for my North Carolina governor said that it should be one family, one vote, not one person, one vote, which is basically a short way of saying they want to take women's right to vote away too.
I'm surprised they still have any percentage of the female population voting for them. Um,
Yeah,
I,
That's wild to me. It's totally insane. I do not understand how any woman would vote for a Republican at this point.
But
It's
they,
just the religion. It's all religion. It's because that's who their pastor tells them God wants them to vote for. It's insanity.
see, I just live so far from the South. I've never, and I grew up in California. I've never experienced a big, controlling Christian community. I've never lived in one, and so they feel almost mythical to me, although I know they're around.
It's to go to the South sometime. At every store I go to, I hear "Have a blessed day," and I tell them that I hope that someone casts a spell and makes their day better too.
So the Republicans know, like long term, like in 10 years, the number of young women who support the Democrats, like every single time, is like 78% now. Okay, so like the women are going to crush them eventually. Okay. It just depends on how long it's going to take for the older ones who are still willing to overlook the insane repression they're willing to engage in until those people pass away.
The problem, that's why they want to implement that whole Project 2025 thing. Just take all their right to vote away, and you don't have to worry about that problem.
They didn't. Did they actually say that they want to limit voting? Yeah, I mean, 2025 is so gnarly. I've gotten so obsessed with different points in it that they could have said that.
Well, they all voted
Uh,
against the Voting Rights Act that the Dems were trying to pass,
I just
and they're all against ranked choice voting, which is
well,
really
it's
the
like
initiative I wish we could get in every state. Ranked choice voting would completely change the demographics of the United States politics. The first year it was accepted in every state.
yeah, it had a huge impact in Alaska, like for sure. I wish they would do that as well. Um,
I could see
Weird.
RFK or somebody win in Alaska, which would be hilarious.
You're becoming some sort of strange new male Sarah Palin.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
don't think
the worst.
RFK's got much of a chance, but I mean, at least he takes from both sides, so it's not like I think he's kind of a mute point, really.
The other thing I think that's going to secretly do a lot of damage are the pornography bans. Have you seen the states where, the
Well, I
porn
live in
sites have.
one.
Oh, they did. North Carolina, they did that.
Yeah, if you try to go on like Pornhub or anything here, a little thing pops up, and it's like, we don't call your congressman.
Oh my God. That's like, don't they realize that they are investing in their own destruction? Like,
You would think, but I mean, we're still a red ass state.
is that because of gerrymandering exclusively?
I mean, that has a lot to do with it, but I also the one Democrat that switched on and gave him a supermajority.
That was
Like that shit should be illegal.
the way
She
that they're
ran on
willing
a
to do that now.
dude. She ran on abortion rights, and then as soon as she got in, she switched to a Republican and gave them the last vote to ban abortion.
Was she the one who said that she did it because the Democrats were mean to her?
Yeah,
Like it was just
yeah,
this confusing explanation that was basically like they bullied me or something.
yeah. It's a lie. It was literally just this lady. It was planned. There's no way you didn't plan that. There's just no way. It's so ridiculous. Ought to be illegal.
Yeah, I think they did that with Kristen Cinema too, and Joe Manchin is this other strange.
Yeah. Well, Joe Manchin, I mean, his seat's probably going to go to a Republican this year because he got out.
Oh, that's good. He was worthless. But
Yes. But, I mean, like I said, next probably going to be a Republican. So.
I mean,
Then again,
Georgia
who
flipped
they
his.
got running against him?
Is North Carolina not at all like Georgia and sort of looking into?
Well, we're a purple state. Like we have a blue governor right now, but he's terms up, Cooper, and the guy running on the Republican side is full on crazy for the Republicans. So I'm hoping that Josh Stein wins, even though I don't really. He's kind of a centrist Dem for governor, but like neither of our Senate seats are up for until 26 and 28, so we're stuck with two red senators for at least now.
You actually have, as of February 17, 2024, there's more registered Democrats than Republicans.
Yeah,
But the largest portion is unaffiliated.
yeah, that's what I.
I
Because
mean,
in
it's
North
so
Carolina, if you're unaffiliated, you can vote in either primary. So
it would be so easy for the Democrats to put together a policy agenda that they could sell to everyone. Like if Kamala Harris, look, she doesn't have to pull it off, but if she came out and was like, look, I want to raise the minimum wage, I want to raise corporate taxes. Here's the exact amount that I want to, and I want to do everything I can to destroy the right to work laws that are,
well, the
limiting
funny thing is,
unionization.
they have the agenda. It's written on the White House's website. It's just that Biden can't tell anyone what it is.
Yeah, but he did some weird stuff too. Like he
Well, it doesn't help
used,
that the agenda is literally like every other paragraph is Donald Trump.
yeah.
It's like, I don't care about that. Just tell us what your plans are. And like I said, it's not a terrible agenda. You know, he wants to raise the real wage, get insulin down cheaper, and a bunch of stuff like that. But the thing is, it's like if he's incapable of telling people what his agenda is, it doesn't matter.
I know that his entire all of his press for the last, I mean, at least since the debate, probably before, has been him saying like, no, like what you are looking at is not what you see. I am not obviously incapable of continuing to do this
Yeah,
job.
like that's what I don't understand. Is like they sound like Trumpers. They sound like Trumpers. Just ignore the facts that you can see and hear with your own eyes and believe what I say. That's insane. That's just an insane thing to run on. They literally sound like Trumpers at this point. Right? It's like when you try to tell a Trumper that like the guy's a felon and an adjudicated rapist, and they're like, "No, I don't want to believe that." It's the same thing when you tell people that Biden's too old to run, his brain's melting. They're like, "No, I don't understand." Like, can we have a little bit of just honesty amongst our people? Because I don't know anyone who seriously thinks Joe Biden's brain is okay.
I don't know why Kamala can't garner the support with the cabinet to remove him. Like, it's apparent they will not have their jobs next year if she's,
Look, he hasn't had a cabinet meeting in 8 months.
I mean, even more reason why, like, is there
That's
something,
insane.
but this is why I keep asking, like, is there something we don't realize about her? Like, is she such a terrible person? They got the staffing stuff where she's, like, gone through stuff like nobody. Is she so horrible that these people won't get behind her to remove him? Like why is that so hard? What part of the Democratic Party's apparatus is preventing her from like booting him out?
Yeah, I
The
can't
whole
figure that one out either.
Because the other thing is the whole DNC is going to look foolish after this. Like if they ride this, if they go ride or die with Biden, when they come around in 4 years and they're like, "Hey, remember us? I know things have been hard under Trump." Because the Trump presidency, like I truly believe if he is elected, his presidency will be marked by him fighting with the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court is not going to let him do the things that he wants to do. Like they realize.
I I don't know. I mean, they gave him presidential immunity. They got rid of the Chevron doctrine. It seems like they're setting up for him to do exactly what he wants to do.
Okay, but so if you look at those another way, so presidential immunity was always a thing. This is the first case that's defined it. A president was always supposed to be only subject to the jurisdiction of the Senate and Congress, right? Impeachment. And that's the way it was supposed to go. And with the Chevron doctrine, one way you could argue against this being a bad thing is like, so uh, McDonald's and a bunch of other companies in the South, they just got caught with child labor, right? They were charged with, uh, and the way that the executive agencies work is they can't get sued over that. What happens is they go through the executive agency process of being fined, and the fines for one of the most egregious offenders was like $176,000. Now, and so what exactly. And so what my Republican friends say is like those agencies, they don't work anyway. Like, look, what do they even do? And now they're it's going to be weird, but there'll be a single judge making that call. And so the penalties could actually be much crazier because the judiciary isn't controlled at all. You know what I mean? Like this could go a
Oh yeah.
totally different direction. But what the Supreme Court has been trying to do is give states more rights. And so they're not going to let him go nuts building up the executive. They just tore down the executive with the Chevron doctrine. You know what I mean?
That
Like,
is true. It's gonna be crazy. But I mean, I don't know. They're all members of the Heritage Foundation.
that's true, but they do realize that if they concentrate power in the executive, that like there will be another Democrat president. And when that happens, that then what? You know?
Yeah, but it seems like they're trying to give more power to the judiciary too.
Exactly. I think that the funniest thing would be the idea you shared with me, which was they turn on Trump, and then Trump's like, "Well, you enforce it then."
Yeah, I mean that's what Lincoln did.
I think,
So wouldn't be the first time.
and the other thing is, again, like a lot of my friends are significant conservatives. They all like they know he even if he gets elected this time, he will try to run in 2028, and they laugh about that because they're so sure, you know, it won't be allowed. Like they don't want him. So at the end of it, right? Even at the end, let's say we elect him and he goes the end of his term, he's going to try to run for a third term. He's going to try to drum up or do whatever because you'd have to change the Constitution or whatever to do that. Um,
Yeah, because that's an amendment,
yeah, like
and it's a very
what?
specific amendment. There's no saying, no rewording it. You know what I mean?
Yes, and then the Republican Party will eat itself alive right when he's done with his second term as he tries to fight for a third term. He always does that stuff at his rallies where he's like, in 2028 and 2032. It's shocking.
Yeah, there's no way. It blows me away that people would even vote for anybody who would say that. But I mean, the guy said he wanted to terminate the Constitution, and the constitutionalists are like voting for him. Makes my brain hurt. Yes, I'm
They're
a real
trying
person.
they're trying to
TikTok just
use
popped
him.
up, maybe do a puzzle.
What happened?
This is TikTok's little pop thing popped up, maybe slide a puzzle piece into a little thing, make sure I'm a human, I guess.
Oh no.
That
I
was
wonder if
pretty
you're
good.
appearing particularly robotic.
Right?
Um, but yeah, and the Democrats have so much credibility because, like, it's a statement on the Democratic National Committee, right? So Biden's unwillingness to quit and his, like, the fact that they haven't removed him, like, everyone's asking, is there some apparatus within the Democratic Party that's responsible for ensuring that the candidate isn't totally insane or brain dead? You know what I mean? Like, um,
Well, thanks for the heart. Uh, yeah, I don't understand the concept of what their plan is because the math doesn't math. Like, you're I don't see how they win with Joe Biden. Like, it almost seems like they're not even trying to win with Joe Biden. And that to me is going to be the narrative of Joe Biden's legacy is he will be the president who ensured that Donald Trump got a read. And as soon as Trump wins, all the cases against him will get dropped, at least all the federal cases. I don't think he can get out of the Georgia case quite as easily, but we'll
no.
see how it goes.
You saw that the uh, the classified documents case was dropped today. Jack
Yeah.
Smith was removed. I sent you that this
I,
morning.
I'm really curious as to what the Supreme Court says about that. Because if they say that she's right, that Cannon's right, that they have to drop the case against Hunter Biden too.
Oh yeah, It
'Cause
would
it's
be
the
a
same
huge
thing. Like, if you can't
Yeah,
appoint a special counsel against Trump, you can't appoint a special counsel at all, which means the case against Hunter Biden has to go thrown out too. And so does the case against that Menendez senator guy.
yep.
And I don't understand like I don't think the Supreme Court's going to rule for that. We've been using special counsels and special prosecutors since like the 1800s.
It's apparent that that judge has done everything she can to help Trump. She has delayed hearings. She has heard things she should not have heard that had no chance of passing, asked for additional briefing. Oh, let's take a little more time. The the most interesting thing will be if he does not win, even the Supreme Court said in their ruling that like what he did with the electors in Georgia, that was not his power. Like they said that.
Yeah, they said that specifically. Yeah. And
Yep.
that's why I'm curious as to how Georgia goes. Like, so if he wins and then gets convicted in Georgia state, like what the hell happens?
If that is classified as an insurrection, he gets removed from office instantly.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's the only thing that can prevent you from holding office. And they did it to that dude in New Mexico for participating in January 6th.
Yeah.
They removed it. Yeah. So, but how long do you think? Okay, so let's hope the Democrats are waiting for the sound, the day, the crescendo to go down from Trump getting shot. How long do you think they wait? Like, when do you think is the moment they use to
Well,
replace
when is the
Biden?
DNC exactly? Because I think they're going to give it at least 2 weeks before the DNC convention.
They have to, it's August 19th through 22nd.
Okay, so I would say if they're going to do it, they'll do it before August 5th.
Because they have to have a mini primary, like they do. They're not allowed to just hand over electors. You know what I mean?
Well, they are if Biden resigns, but not if he just drops out. Because
I
if he
don't think that they.
resigns, she becomes incumbent. It's the same as if he were to like pass away, she would become incumbent and she would automatically get his delegates because
But
they've
from what?
already voted for Biden Harris.
Okay, but from what I read, they're only obligated to vote for the exact ticket
Right, well,
that
they're not even
they.
obligated. Biden said that they could vote their conscience, and as soon as he said that, they're no longer tied to him.
So I still think they'll do some sort of mini primary type thing. I still think that's ideal. You know what I mean? Like they want to appear that they've consulted the people.
Oh yeah. Well, I think what Biden will drop out, and they will hold a primary. I just think no one's going to run against her in the mini primary. I think it'll just be Kamala and probably whoever she picks as a be because I don't think any of the Democrats are going to have the nuts to come out against Kamala Harris. Like to do so, you're going to divide the party when they're already trying the unity message. Did you see Biden took down all of his attack ads against Trump?
So ridiculous. I mean, what?
So I had people on my video comments be like, you should be nice now. He just goes, I'm like, I gotta be nice. He's still a fascist. I don't.
No, I
People are like, you should be nice to the mustache man. He almost got killed. Yeah, the guy missed.
he was
Messed
on
up.
Jeffrey
I feel bad for the innocent
Epstein's.
people who were there.
He was on Jeff Epstein's plane something like 70 times.
But there's like 30 pictures of him and Epstein being buddy buddy with like little girls in the photo too. I kind of wonder about the photo where he's like holding his daughter's face all weird, kind of pointed up at Jeffrey Epstein. Like, I don't know. It just looks really creepy to me. And the fact that he told Stormy Daniels that she reminded him of his daughter right before he slept with her. Like, who the fuck says something like that?
Yeah, I don't feel any moral outrage over what happened to him. Like he has
Right?
shown himself, yeah,
Yeah.
like he has shown himself to be a terrible person.
Yeah, I said I feel bad for the innocent people who were there who were just supporting him because they're ignorant, probably.
I think Harris needs to pick a VP who's like a solid white man. Andy Bashir, he could work.
I
Like,
think Bashir is the best because I really think they could take Kentucky, and not that it's a lot of delegates, but the optics of it are crazy.
yes, I. Although the only problem with him is he does not have the uh, attention that like Newsom has been beginning to develop. None of the
Yeah,
candidates who are being
the
looked at
sad
have
truth
it.
is the attention is still just for us political junkies who watch the stuff. Like my barometer for how the normies feel is I just talk to the waitresses at my work because
What
they
do they
talk to
think?
like
Yeah,
they don't know who the hell Gavin Newsom is.
yeah. But
No
once
idea.
they see him, he's
Oh
hunky as
yeah, but my
shit.
point is Bashir's at the same level as far as like the average American goes. But half the people at my work couldn't tell you Kamala Harris is the real vice president.
Oh, I know. I mean, she
So I
hasn't
mean,
done
like,
very much to distinguish herself or get out there.
no, but I mean, most people don't know who the vice president was unless it's somebody like Cheney who's like running the show.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, who was Clinton's vice president?
Al Gore.
That's right, Gore. And we all saw how that went.
Yeah, that did not end well.
But I think Kamala ought to come out publicly and remove Joe Biden from office, and then say she's not running for the race. Like if the Democrats really wanted to win, that's the moving, that's the moving, that's the winning idea.
Well, I think that she will do that because she will not be allowed to run. The Democrats will not nominate her next time. Okay, that's not happening. If she goes down, if Biden goes down, she's going down with Biden. So if she wants her political, and there's, you don't get to do anything after you're vice president. You don't get to go be senator, not really. And
Not very
uh,
often.
and she's not going to be California's senator because they already have two Democrat senators. There's no way that's happening. And
Yeah, I was so sad Porter lost that.
she was amazing. She's actually from the place. Yeah, Katie Porter is from where I'm from, and her election there was like the biggest upset ever.
Yeah. Well,
From
it's crazy
Irvine.
that they it. It's weird to me that the two progressives split the progressive vote. Who was the other progressive who ran against her? Uh, but they gave it to the centrist Democrat.
Yep, that's how it always goes down. Um, but I think that Kamala, because Kamala is incredibly narcissistic and desires more, time in the light. If she does not take this from Biden, she's done. And so I think she will. Like for that, I'm sure she is doing everything she can to ensure she replaces him. She has to be.
Yeah. Well, I think Kamala would be down to do it just 'cause, like you said, it's the end of her career if Biden goes down.
Yes, I mean, sorry, that's what I meant. She just, but also like a small primary, especially if they just picked someone who wasn't going to fight very hard, it would be a really good way to get her a lot of attention.
Uh, Somebody said, "Do you think she's too scared to make the move?" I don't see what Kamala has to lose by making the move
Yep.
because her options are either become president or go down in flames either way.
Yep. There's no way they're going to nominate her to be the president in the next one. She got crushed when she tried to run. She's not
Yeah,
very good at running her own campaign.
I'll never forget the debate where Tulsi Gabbard just crushed her. But I still think that the donors want Kamala Harris because she was like the favorite until Tulsi Gabbard destroyed her at that debate.
I think people realize that she has weird flaws that are not apparent because on paper she's amazing, right?
Right?
Like
I just think she
But
doesn't have any charisma, which is really weird for a prosecutor.
no, no, there's lots of prosecutors like that. Um, it's hard to be a Democratic or liberal prosecutor.
That makes sense.
You see what I mean? Like, how many Democrats are excited? Like, a ton of your prosecutions are drug related, a ton, right? You've got a number of prosecutions that are going to be, tangentially related to homelessness, um, and other prosecutions related to poverty. And so
Right.
it's tough to be a Democratic prosecutor or a liberal one. Um,
Yeah. I just don't see how they replace her without the optics just ruining everything. And it's too late now. I think if you were going to replace her, you needed to have at least a month of mini primaries screaming at each other. You know what I mean?
well, I think this would be hilarious, right? I think they will use the primary process to boost her image. Okay, they'll have some sort of do nothing primary where maybe they get someone to go along with it, even though like they know they're not going to win, and it just allows her to get a lot of everyone's like, well, who will the Democrat nominee be? And then we'll get to see a bunch of little fake debating and stuff. Um, the funniest thing would be if she messed that up.
Well, the funny thing would be is uh, because Joe Biden has said that the delegates are free to vote for whoever they want. Uh, as far as my understanding, that means they can now. As soon as he said that, so I think it would be hilarious if they just all voted against him.
I mean, yeah,
Like, didn't even say anything or nothing, and just all voted against him.
yeah, you're right. He said it 3 days ago. I did
Yeah.
not catch that.
Oh, I did. As
Um,
soon as he said those words, I was like, I can't believe he just said that. Does he know what he just said? Because he gave them permission to vote their conscience, which means they're all free delegates now.
I don't understand what he's trying to do. So, like, on the one hand, he's trying to hold on to the nomination, even though he looks like an idiot. He's refusing to step down. But then he says weird stuff like, yeah, you can vote your conscience.
His brain doesn't work. That's the only thing, because that was the dumbest thing you could have said if you actually want to stay in the race.
But then it makes me wonder, like, is his family that crazy or mean or weird? Like, don't they?
I kind of think the plan is to have the delegates vote against him because, like he said, when he said that, he said that's what democracy is all about. The Dems
That
could
would be
run on
such
that.
a.
Like, what if they
That would
just,
be such.
without saying anything, they nominate Gavin Newsom?
It would be such a crazy upset. He's been putting
Yeah,
in all
and
like.
guess what? The media would completely change the narrative to. Can you believe the Democratic delegates voted for Newsom instead of Kamala and Biden? It would take over the media cycle for at least a week.
But the party would look unhinged at that point. Like,
Would
they're
they?
supposed to be, yeah, like the whole party.
I don't know. If I was a delegate, I would vote for somebody else.
No, I mean, I would too. But the idea is like, look, there's supposed to be a certain number of old Democrats like Joe Biden, like Mitch McConnell, like Barack Obama, who, although he's not a politician any longer, still has a lot of pull. And they would be able to usher Joe out before, he's removed, you know?
Yeah, but it would be funny.
I mean, the craziest thing would be if he were removed on August 9th or the 19th through the 22nd and Newsom were put in, and then everyone's like, who's Gavin Newsom? And then the first time they get to see him is debating Trump,
Yeah,
they would just be like, oh my God, this guy's amazing.
yeah, exactly. Like, uh, and I think that's what Newsom's pulling for behind the scenes. That's why he's saying behind. That's why he's saying that he supports Kamala, because then he can be like, "Well, I wasn't even running, but they just nominated me, and I'm gonna do what's best for the American people." You know, he would spin the hell out of that.
I would love that story. And I love the idea that Kamala knows that's going to happen. And so she's trying to remove Biden to prevent that from happening. Like, I want to read a story 10 years from now about this presidential nominating process that reveals that there was this crazy amount of scrambling behind the scenes.
Oh, I agree with this person. Said Trump would never debate Newsom. Absolutely not. He'd be like, I agreed to a debate with Biden, but that would just make him look like a coward, and his
Yeah,
base
no.
would be mad.
Trump thinks he's amazing. Like, there's
Yeah, that's
no way
true.
he would back
Trump's
down to
ego.
debate anyone.
You're right. You're right. He absolutely would.
And that's his primary characteristic is that he cannot fail. He believes he cannot fail.
But my hope is that they just nominate someone else at the convention without even telling Biden. I think that would be the funniest shit in the world. If he showed up ready to like take his acceptance speech and they just voted for somebody else, that
And
would be the
Trump's
biggest news story ever. That would be a bigger
Tr-
news story than Trump, getting hit
that's what I was gonna say. Trump's assassination would be forgotten. Like the moment
instantly.
that happened.
Instantly, people would just forget about it completely and be like, "Can you believe what the Democrats did? They just nominated somebody completely different." And then Newsom would come out and, like I said, be like, "Well, I wasn't running, but then since they nominated me, I'm gonna do what's best for America, and I'm gonna take the reins and unite the party." And that, I mean, the speech writes itself.
I think he's nasty enough to ask Kamala to be his VP.
Oh, he absolutely would too, but she'd never take it.
She has to, or she'd look bitter.
Oh, that's true. But the thing is, technically, they would have to nominate the VP at the convention too, because you vote on both.
Oh, that's right.
So, what if they just didn't pick her? Or what if they did? What if they just voted for her as the VP?
It'd be so funny.
Oh,
I think the fact what
or they'll nominate her and Newsom, which to me still makes a lot of sense. Thanks for the gifts. That's amazing.
I think the fact that she has not been able to remove Newsom, because I keep telling you, I have this theory that behind closed doors, she is terrible. And like everybody dislikes her, and we just don't understand why. I think the fact that she hasn't been able to replace Biden at this point is a testament to that.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I also think it's mostly Biden's ego and his family. I think Biden should pardon his son and then resign.
his son is just the worst.
Yeah, but think about it. If he pardoned him and resigned, the pardon of him would kind of fail under the media, landscape, and then the whole media would be about who the Democrats are going to nominate.
Or they could have him pardon his son, and then the Democrats could like remove him one way or the
Or,
other, right?
I mean, if you really want to like make a statement, pardon his son and Trump, and then drop out.
God,
Just
that
think
would
about it.
be amazing.
If Trump wins, all of his federal cases go away anyway. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
there's a good chance that he's not going to jail for any of that anyway. His state case, Biden can't pardon him from anyway. Federal
I
pardon doesn't
cannot.
have anything to do with state cases. So like, it's a good political move.
I think that. I mean, that would be the most amazing thing ever. What you just said, if Biden pardoned Trump, I don't know what the Republicans would do. Um, I don't know how they would react to that. I think that would be the most shocking development ever, and I would love to see them try to spin that.
Right.
Um, but like one thing, have
Uh,
you noticed?
Somebody said the Republicans can sue states for the primary, but primaries aren't part of actual election law. Primaries are
Yeah,
completely made up by the parties, so it doesn't matter. You nominate a party. Like, there's no way the Supreme Court would let that like stand, because then it would mean that like if something happened to Trump, they couldn't replace him. That just doesn't make any sense.
So I think that they're already trying to make the assassination go away
Oh yeah.
because they they were trying to spin it initially, but the moment he came out as a registered Republican, and they were like, "Well, he gave $15 to a progressive political action committee
When he was
in 20."
17.
Yeah, and now there's a ton of people coming out saying like, "No, he was as conservative as it gets." Like, this is I never thought an assassination could blow up in someone's face, but I feel like this one is going to.
Well,
He
especially
is.
I don't know. It's a very weird thing, but I mean, historically, surviving assassination attempts hasn't always led to the guy who did it winning. Like, plenty of cases where it goes the other way.
Oh
So
yeah,
I've seen the argument that people stick with what is stable during times of crisis.
I love what you said about Gerald Ford. Like him getting shot by two women. He got shot at by two women. They tried to assassinate him three times, I guess. He was wearing one of the Black American flag things on his shirt, like the Blue Lives Matter thing. Dude, this kid, like, oh my God. I wonder what his motivation was. This is one of the most confusing
It's
stories I've
very
ever
weird.
heard.
And he didn't write like a manifesto or a letter or nothing, at least not that they've released yet.
Nope, not that they found. And like, he was far right. Like, it's really
I
coming out that he
you,
was far
you'd
right.
honestly never he could have just been like a mass shooter and just was trying to get famous.
Yeah, I mean, this could be like what would have been a Columbine thing, right? Like if
Right?
he didn't do this, he might have shot up his school. In which
Or a
case, I'm
grocery
glad.
store or whatever else. Yeah, it's too hard to say what his motivations are without some kind of manifesto or
But the right's
something like that.
inability to categorize him, like, dude, when this first happened, my friend who was raising money for DeSantis, he texted me and he's like, the left has finally gone too far. He's like, they've been comparing him to Hitler. They've been da da da, right? And my favorite thing about JD Vance is, and I got to send him this today. JD Vance compared Trump to Hitler, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh
he
yeah,
said he
it's
will
the
be
left.
America's next. I saw that. But that's what I don't understand. Like how people just accept that the right has no principles whatsoever. Like Donald Trump called Ted Cruz's wife ugly to his face,
Yep.
and dude is still like kissing the ring. I like you have no principles whatsoever at that point. Like same with this JD Vance guy. He's like, I think Trump's the worst thing ever to happen to the Republican Party. I think he could be America's Hitler. He could da 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 all this triple crap, and now I'm going to be his vice president. Like, it's so weird.
I So my friends who work for that party really fancy themselves to be like super principled people. Okay, like you know, they see themselves as people who've studied philosophy and are very reasonable and who are trying to preserve this image of America that was more pure and better and all. And whenever I bring that stuff up to them, I bring it like when Ted Cruz, because my buddy was, Ted Cruz was at my friend's house for 7 days. I told you, we were playing that
Right?
weird fucking game. And I was like, how did he live with the fact that Trump attacked his wife? Like, how did he?
Yeah. How do
And
you
he's
like get over that?
and he's like, well, it was a matter of political expediency. And I'm just like, the way they're
So
able
you
to move the
don't have any
goalposts.
principles.
Yeah.
Like that's literally the point.
And it's crazy to me how much cognitive dissonance they're able to sustain. But one of the other reasons that they are able to sustain it is because the Democrats have been really bad at like really standing for anything um, beyond trans rights. Really, like I wish they'd do more to help the working class. Like, and I'm glad obviously that they promote and support LGBTQ rights, but like they seem to have just it seems to be the only thing they can do because their corporate donors won't allow them to improve the working class's position at all. I mean,
Well, it's really weird too, because like, did you see that the Davos billionaires like all said that they want the governments to tax them more?
oh yeah.
It's just like really weird. Like when like the richest people in the world all get together and be like, you government, you should take more of our money because if you don't, then the poor people are going to come and unalive us all.
I
That's
think
not
they
what
know
they
they
said.
I I think they know they've gone too far, and the metrics around consumption, like that will kill
Uh,
capitalism dead.
who do I think would make a great president? Jon Stewart. If I could pick
Yep.
anyone in the world to like show up at the National Democratic National Convention and be like, vote for me, it would be Jon Stewart. And I think all the delegates would vote for
You tried to do a petition to get him to
him.
run.
I made a petition over a year ago. I made it at the beginning of 2023 to try to get Jon Stewart to run for president. And I made like 50 videos trying to get people to sign the petition. It only got to like 800 signatures. I still feel like he could walk into the White House.
Oh, I wonder I wonder what his sense of himself is. You know what I mean? Like, I know he
Right?
knows he's very popular.
Does he
Um,
not realize he could walk into the White House?
exactly. Is he like too humble? Which would be wonderful. Like, does he need to be conscripted, like forced into it?
I really think he doesn't want the job. And I'm like, well, nobody who deserves the job wants the job. That's why you deserve the job.
Exactly. It's yeah, I it's funny. There's like very few people who are interesting at all who share my birthday, but he and I have the same birthday. So I always thought that was
Yeah,
funny.
if I think if Jon Stewart like showed up at the national convention and was just like, I'm running, throwing my hat in the ring, I bet you he'd take the delegates. I'll bet you they would vote for him over Biden.
I'm surprised he doesn't just try to get in there. Like, I'm surprised he hasn't floated an attempt to run for Senate or like he could do anything. Like he's got the cred, he's got the recognition. He doesn't
But
need to
he was
spend a
the
lot of
most
money.
trusted man on TV for like 10 years straight.
Has he said why he has no intention of running?
Well, I actually have a video on the top of my TikTok that somebody made where like it's like some young guy saying that he needs to run and he just kind of like brushes it off like a joke. And it's like, no, man, like really, you need to run.
I mean, obviously one of the most difficult things is like even if he became president, the Senate and Congress could shut him out, right?
Could they though? Because all you would have to do is come out and start making fun of them and calling them out by. I mean, you saw what happened when the Republicans voted against the
The
burn
veteran
pits
health care
thing for the
bill,
veterans. Yeah,
yeah.
Jon Stewart showed up and bullied them into doing what he wanted, and he wasn't even president. Imagine what he could do with the actual bully pulpit.
He hasn't. I looked for it the other day, and I'm looking for it again now. He's never given a reason why he won't take it seriously. He just, like you said, he shrugs it off.
Yeah, like does he not realize that you could walk into the White House just about any election you want? I
Um,
seriously believe if he just showed up at the DNC convention and was like, "Hey, I'm running. If you just vote for me over Biden," I'll bet you over half the delegates would vote for him.
and imagine his grassroots fundraising.
Oh my God, I'd send him money. I would go knocking on doors for him.
Yeah, I mean, he would be able to register and get the largest amount of young voters probably for the last like 20, like, no, probably for the last 20 or 30 years.
Not even
He's,
young voters, but like our generation.
oh, yeah, we
We,
would go
even
nuts.
the Republicans of our generation would vote for Jon Stewart.
No, it's so true. But I mean, he hasn't. Maybe he is thinking about it because he's never given a convincing. He's never said in a convincing way why he doesn't want to. He
Yeah,
just
I think
shrugs it
he
off.
is. I think that this wouldn't be the year for it, is what he's thinking. But I still think he could just show up to the DNC and take it. I really do.
I mean, this was the most
He
important.
shows up to the DNC and nobody's going to ignore him. You know what I mean? And as soon as he says he wants it, give me a reason anybody wouldn't vote for him.
I mean, I think that this, first of all, this would be the best year for him to do it because
I agree.
hopefully, like in 4 years, we will have put the baby boomers behind us for good. Okay, in the next, Trump will try to run again because he's fucking Trump. But like, if the Democrats have not put the baby boomers behind them in 2028, it's going to be problematic. And so there will be, hopefully, I mean, I'm hoping someone like Gavin Newsom, who's charismatic and younger, a new generation. But now we need a replacement more than ever, and we need someone who can do it without, making a problem for himself or others. And like you said, if Jon Stewart walked into the convention and was like, I'm doing this, I mean, he would have the support of so many people. He would crush Trump. And then watching him with Trump at the debate would just, oh my God, could you imagine?
Yeah, it would be totally insane. Like, the debate would be the most watched thing ever, and Jon Stewart would eat him alive. And then a lot of people are saying that, Jon Stewart would probably get unalived by the people in charge. And I'm like, that just means he has to pick a more crazy VP. Take AOC as your VP. Life insurance.
I mean, you're right. He really, if that's a really good idea. I don't think that they would unalive him because it would just, I mean, how would they sell that story? I mean, that's the thing with the Trump story, right? Is like, we are learning that the person who tried to unalive him was a far right guy. Like,
yeah,
how would they sell the
farther right
Jon
than Trump,
Stewart?
from what it sounds like, which is really crazy.
I mean, it would be amazing. And I know that, like, even if Jon Stewart couldn't get anything done, he would advocate for the changes that we all really need and shame the
Yeah.
senators, like you said.
Yeah, and just like the hammer he would take to corporate power would be amazing. But like I said, how do you get him to run? Not like I can get him to answer my phone call.
That's where the biggest...
That's why Lahori's and I made that thing on change, was I figured if I could get like 1 million people to sign that petition, then he couldn't ignore it completely. You know what I mean?
Is he Jewish?
Yes.
Then the Israel thing might be problematic.
He's against
for him.
I know,
but
he's already come out against what Israel's doing in Gaza.
I just mean that that's, if he were going to get killed, it would be because he would stop basically supporting most of the conflicts we support. He would stop supporting most of the dictators we support, and that would just crush the military-industrial complex, and that is why he would get hurt.
That's why you got to pick somebody crazier as your VP.
Yeah, I
mean, Dave Chappelle as your VP.
That would be amazing.
Just be like, you might not want me as president, but you sure as hell don't want Dave Chappelle as president.
I'm just thinking, I haven't thought about this as seriously until you mentioned it, and it seems so perfect. Holy. He's 61 years old. All right, so if he's waiting, he's going to be 65 next time.
Spring chicken compared to the ones we got now.
No, you're right. I'm just looking for any of the... Since you mentioned it, I'm now like hoping he does run eventually. I'm looking into like, do we still have time?
But yeah, like he would have to show up he would have to just say right now that he's running against Biden and hope the delegates picked him, and that would be hilarious.
I mean, the outpouring of support from young people would be shocking.
Oh, the White House would probably get a million phone calls the first day telling Biden to drop out and give it to Jon Stewart.
Yeah,
Like,
God.
if he said that, so many people would say that they were going to write him in that the Democrats would have to give it to him.
How long do you think that the Democrats need to wait to replace Biden for the assassination stuff to go down?
About a week, really.
This
I think
weekend?
after yeah, I think this weekend, if as long as they have at least 2 weeks before the convention, I think they're good because they need at least 2 weeks to drum up the narrative of replacing him.
I think
Plus to
what's
change stuff at the convention, like who's giving what speeches, etc.
but I think they'd want to give her a runway to establish herself as the presidential candidate. So doing it like a month, yeah, a month before is next week, or
Yeah,
at the end of this week.
yeah. But I would say if they haven't done it by 2 weeks before the convention, then all hope is lost. Unless they straight up vote against him at the convention, which I'm s- I still don't think is impossible. Like I could see the delegates just showing up and being like, "Well, we're not voting for him," so and they just like vote for Newsom or something, which would be insane.
But then I want to be, I'm looking forward to the book where someone finally explains, like, listen, you guys didn't know this, but Kamala was the worst person ever. And there's a
Right?
reason. There's a reason we could not get behind her or garner enough support to remove Biden for her. And these were the reasons.
Yeah.
Because it should be a slam dunk.
It should be. It should be a slam dunk. Like I 100% agree. Like I don't understand why they're even trying with Biden at this point.
Yeah, there's no justification other than they're waiting for the attention from the assassination to diminish. But oh my God. It's so crazy to me that such an important job is decided in these clumsy ways. Like, obviously, you and I prefer people outside of both of the candidates, but it's just like if this is the most serious job with the most power and most capacity for destruction, it's like we as a species have become a joke. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We like, yeah, look at the humans. This is the best they can do. Like, oh my God, I hope we don't make it.
They're giving 3,000 over 3,000 nuclear missiles to a geriatric old man who doesn't know what day it is, or a convicted felon rapist.
Yeah, and like who's being shot at by someone who's somehow further to the right than he. Oh my God, I love running into all the TikTok Trump people since the assassination attempt. They just put that picture up and they're so, ugh.
Right?
They're going to be so disappointed when they realize that this is not going to get more people to vote for him.
Yeah. I don't see how. Like, I don't know anybody who's going to change their vote. There might be. Like, I think like Biden was going to lose anyway at the rate we're going, so this didn't really change much.
Yeah, but no one who cares about abortion or something like that's like, oh, now that Trump has been executed, I'm going to vote for him. Or been,
Right?
like, forget I'm ready to give up my birth control pills because Trump got
Right?
shot at.
Or I'm ready to get rid of no fault divorce just because yeah, I don't. The real problem is that so many Americans don't pay attention to anything that's going on, and that's what scares me.
Well, the Democrats don't do enough to, explain it. Like, if they were out there going, like, he wants to get rid of no fault divorce, like,
Right?
and let me tell you what that means because it's such an old idea, like,
Oh yeah,
I know most
I've
of you
had to
won't
explain it
remember.
to everybody I say it to. I have to explain to it what it means. Like
Yeah,
it
it's
means that you can't get divorced unless you can prove your husband cheated on you or almost beat you to death.
yes, I think
It's
drug
wild.
abuse is also one of them.
Yeah, it's wild. Well, I think I'm gonna get off here for today. Interesting conversation for sure.
Yeah,
Thanks for all the
the
gifts
world
and
is,
everything, everybody who tuned in.
I know the world will give us more
Hopefully,
content.
oh, I definitely think that's coming. That I definitely think that's coming. That something else, and there's always the October surprise, which I have no idea what that's going to be this year. But there's always an October surprise in every election, and I'm thinking it's going to be like one of them has a heart attack in October. The
That would worry me.
insanity that something like that would cause.
If Trump were to die, I think that the Republicans would have a much better chance of winning. So that would
Actually, I
worry
don't
me.
think they would at all, because I don't think his base is coming out for anybody but him.
Well, the independents who have abandoned the party would come back, and if that person were willing to just treat Trump like a departed saint, they would have to really,
Yeah, I
really
don't
kiss the
think the
ring.
Trumpers who came out and he kind of added to the Republican Party because he got a whole bunch of people who've never voted before to come out and support him, and I think all those people would just go back to not voting.
Yeah, that may be true.
Like the redneck out in BFE Oklahoma who hadn't voted for a president in 20 years, but he really liked the cut of his jib. So I know these people. I've met these people. That Trump was the first person they ever voted for, and they're
Really?
obsessed with it. Oh yeah,
I love how they're all
100%.
poor. I love how
Oh
they're
yeah,
all poor people, and he,
and
couldn't have been born richer, couldn't have had a bigger inheritance. And they're like,
yeah,
yeah, that guy, he's the guy who gets me, the guy from Home Alone 2. Remember?
yeah. The billionaire. Have you seen the Sesame Street thing from the '80s about Donald Grump?
No.
Oh my god,
What
I
is
saw a
this
TikTok
Sesame
about it.
Street?
Somebody shared. It's like all the Grouches, right?
Yeah.
Talking about the greatest Grouch, Donald Grump, and he owns all the trash. All the trash has his name on it. It's so fucking funny. It's from the '80s. And Donald Grump comes out of the trash can with his hair all flopping around. It's 10 points. 10 points.
I just
It's
want
hilarious.
to know how all these blue collar guys, because that's primarily who it is. They're like, that's my dude, that real estate magnate. That's
Yeah. Yeah, that makes my brain hurt. Makes my brain hurt. Guy who's never worked a hard day of work in his life, but he knows the working conditions. Oh, it's crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna get off here and get some food and stuff. We'll do this again next week. Thanks for
Take it
tuning
easy,
in,
bro.
everybody.